Hi everyone, and welcome to our second summary lecture, or whatever we decided to call it. This week, just like last week, we're not getting quite into the stuff, the meat and potatoes of what this course is all about. We're going to be talking about branding and identity and yada yada yada. I still want to do a little bit of like fundamentals, if you will. So last week, right, we talked about how we need to interrogate our assumptions about social media. Maybe it's bad sometimes, but do we always have to talk about it as bad? And I think that's an important sort of thing to interrogate before we have the rest of the semester talking about various things that we do on social media. This week, it's even more fundamental, I guess, because it's really, I just want you to know how something works. In all my media classes, try to instill just like a basic understanding of the economics of whatever media I'm talking about. So in this case, social media. And I am talking about social media pretty broadly, so I'm including search engines in that. The truth is, and I guess this is, I'm sorry, I have, by now you already know, I have so many caveats when I talk. My brain's running a mile a minute and I'm thinking about how I'm going to say something, but I want you to know what I'm not going to do this week. This week, I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of any specific arguments of your readings. I'm just going to kind of give you my one take on if I had to explain how social media made money in like 20 minutes. This is probably going to be really short, right? 20-minute explanation of how this works. What actually these different platforms do to generate revenue. So I think you'll see how it coalesces, but I'm not really going to go down, like one of your readings has all these different types of social media analytics that can be used, and I'm just not going to get into that because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So consider this an overview, if you will, okay? So I think the first thing to know is that traditional media, like magazines and radio and television, like all of these non-interactive types of media have always generated revenue on an advertising platform. I mean, except for HBO. HBO generates money because it charges a bunch of people money for subscriptions, right? But usually that model is not used, right? Usually and even magazines who charge subscriptions, for instance, don't make their money predominantly from that. They're making it from advertisements. So if you pick up a magazine every 5 pages or so, there's a couple of ads or two, and that's how they're making money, because people are paying thousands or millions or whatever dollars to have their advertisements put in these magazines. And magazines, the more that they can say that somebody reads their magazine, the more money people are willing to pay to put their advertisement in there, right? So Burger King is going to pay more money to advertise. Oh, well, forget magazines. Think about the Super Bowl, right? You always hear about how expensive Super Bowl advertisements are. Well, that's because a lot of people watch the Super Bowl. So, right, they are more like that. Airspace is more valuable to advertise in. So, with social media, it's kind of the same, right? Think about it. You don't pay for Google. There's no subscription. There's definitely no subscription to Facebook or Instagram, right? Because you are what's valuable. So the social network wants you to use the service, because the more people that use the service, the more the advertisers are willing to pay to put advertisements on there, right? Because more eyeballs will be seen. But social network sites in particular, but also Google, I mean, obviously, all of these different interactive platforms offer something that television can't, which is data, okay? So when I say data, and this is, if you've heard the term big data before, this is basically it. Everything you do on the internet, and not just the internet. I mean, one of your articles will specifically talk about how even things you do offline, right, can leave all these little data points about you. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you click on something, right, that is an indicator that you are interested in something. So that's a data point. If you turn on an app on your phone and, like I play Pokemon Go, and that's tracking my location, right? Every location I go to is another data point, because they can see where I go. The Pokemon and Niantic. So also, like, if you use a credit, I mean, this is an offline example that you'll read about. If you use a credit card at a store, right, which card you use, which card you own, those are data points about you. And oftentimes, right, different organizations will share data or buy data from other people. So and you're going to read an article, if you haven't already, about Target and how Target, right, they they know things about, they might, well, we don't technically know what they know, but they could know things about you, like your political ideology and where you live. And you're like, I didn't give Target that unless you filled out like an application for their credit card or something like that. Why would they have that information? Well, other people have that information about you, so they could sell Target information about you, what your political ideology is, or whether you're married, or what your race and ethnicity is. And then if they get that in a bundle with your credit card information, then whenever you used your credit card at Target, then Target would be able to kind of triangulate that and make the connection that, oh, this is the same person and whatever. I hope this is making sense. So it's not, I guess one important thing to bring up about this is usually one data point alone cannot tell you anything. But if you have data points from all these different things that people do in their life, other stores that people shop at, things that people click on online, how people vote, whatever it is, right? You can start to create a profile of somebody. And what's changed because of this ability to collapse all this data in different contexts is that that profile allows advertisers to target you better. So it used to be, right, you could target a general demographic. Oh, I'm going to have a primetime television advertisement, and I know maybe that's a good way to reach, I don't know, young couples between the ages of whatever, 20 and 40 or something like that. Okay, that's a nice demographic, right? But that's not super specific. If you have all these little data points about people, right, you have the ability to say, oh, we need to target an advertisement for people who buy Dove products and eat ice cream. I know that sounds like crazy and outlandish, and maybe it is, but I'm telling you, you would not believe some of the correlations that they found to go with different types of behavioral data points, okay? Like I said, you can make all sorts of different profiles from it. And of course, Target, the way that they would advertise, they can use like mailings and, traditional advertisements like that. But Target could also go on, pay Facebook to use Facebook's data to target you specifically in your newsfeed. And the advantage of that, as opposed to paying for like mass mailings, right, is like you could have, 48 very unique advertisements that are targeted towards somebody with a very specific profile, as opposed to having one advertisement that goes out to thousands of people. You could have these 48 advertisements that go out to very specific segments of people. I hope this is making sense. I feel like when I'm saying it, I'm like, this doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but let me just keep talking about it. Maybe something will click. I'll say another offline thing. I mean, have you ever wondered, do you guys have Kroger wherever you live? Because I know not all of you are in my area. But it's not just Kroger. Like how many, Kroger has a loyalty card, right? Like you scan it, and you can get discounts or whatever. PetSmart has that. Sheets, the gas station has that, right? I have like a whole collection. Where are my keys? I don't know where they are, but all my, what do I have on here? Oh, this is my Giant Eagle. Do you have Giant Eagle? That was nice coming to West Virginia. My Advantage card. Right. Every time I use that Advantage card, they're getting a record of all of my past purchases, right? So they have all sorts of data that they can use. So I would say that, some of the stuff that you hear about Google and Facebook, and you'll read about this week in terms of collecting data, isn't really new because stores have been doing this for a long time. I think what makes social media different is two things. One is they get a lot more data, right? Because it's everything you're doing online. It's much more than, again, just your grocery shopping bill each week. And even though that grocery shopping data point can be combined with other information about you, I don't think it gives you nearly as much information to work with if you're trying to develop a profile. But Facebook, by the way, Facebook doesn't just know things about you, it knows things about your friends and the friends of your friends and your whole social network, right? Because everything your friends are doing, including being connected with you, is a data point. And that's just very valuable information. This is not a statistics class, and even if it was, I don't think I could even elaborate on all the different techniques that they use to try to look for correlations between liking this web page and shopping on this web page or whatever, right? But they can data mine for quite a lot of information that makes it that allows advertisers to specifically target someone. And by the way, not just target people who are in a different category, but target people who might be in a different category. One of the interesting things from your reading this week is about how Target was very interested in getting pregnant women possibly before they even knew they were pregnant, right? Like if you could start marketing to somebody to try to like hook them in to your brand or your store or some sort of product before somebody else did, that would be like amazing. So a lot of this stuff is predictive, right? Trying to like plan your next move. Lost my train of thought again. Anyway, I was thinking about, the New York Times article is very entertaining. It was from 2012, and it's focusing on these offline methods of trying to figure out how to target specific individuals. And basically, like, there's a story in there about how a father was concerned because he kept getting all of these mailings about like baby products, like strollers and cribs and stuff, and they were addressed to his daughter, and he's like, my daughter's not pregnant. Well, spoiler alert, it turns out the daughter was pregnant, and the company knew that, but the father didn't. And so it's all about the types of data points that they need in order to come to those conclusions. Anyway, the other reason I think social network sites are particularly interesting isn't just because they have a lot of data, but then they have access to you after that, right? So social network sites and Google, right, are the gatekeepers to reaching you. These people spend we spend all day long in front of, in front of our screens, although if you have a mobile phone, you probably spend a lot of time in front of them too. And being able to send you marketing materials directly to you that are tailored towards your interests is really unique. Is really a unique opportunity and a very lucrative opportunity. So that's why Facebook and Google and all these other places are so rich, because advertisers not only want to use their platform where they can reach everyone, but because Facebook and Google have very specific information that allows them to target you specifically in ways that you probably don't know. Oftentimes, I think that, we'll see advertisements and we can tell that they're tailored for us. Because, like, let's just say we were, like, shopping for something on Amazon, and then 2 minutes later it shows up, on your Facebook wall advertised. Okay, fine. That's pretty obvious, right? But one of the interesting things, another insight from the New York Times article that you'll read is that, marketers understand that if they make it too apparent that they're kind of creeping on you, then people won't buy things. But they have interesting ways of camouflaging the information that they know about you by pairing it with like other information. And so you might think that there's some mass marketing material that was made for everyone, when in actuality, no, it's still for you. They just put in some other things that you wouldn't be interested in so that you wouldn't realize that they were trying to persuade you. Anyway, a lot of this is kind of controversial, though, because of concerns about surveillance. Because, in one of the articles you'll read that Google absolutely reads your emails if you use Gmail. And I wouldn't say, oh, well, I'm going to stop using Gmail, because literally every company that has email, right, has access to all the data that you're leaving in your email. Facebook, for instance, says, oh, no, we don't spy on people with our microphones, and they're pretty adamant about that, but they do, have access to the messenger feature that you have. So if you're instant messaging people, Facebook does have access to that. So there's a lot of questions about whether they should. I mean, it is their platform. So that's something to think about. But also, another question is, even if you think that companies have a right to collect any data on you that they want, the next question comes in is, well, what right do they have to use it? Does it matter advertise which advertisers they help reach you based on that data? For instance, if it's a foreign government, doesn't matter if they are asking Facebook to target Americans with their marketing messages or whatever, right? Like, these are all questions that we're kind of wrestling with as a society. And I do want to get your opinion on that in the worksheet for this week. But, you know, don't just give me like your straight opinion, like, I think it's bad, right? I want you to really like pull from things that you read in the readings and kind of flesh out like, okay, Facebook is doing this and it's wrong because of Z, or it's okay because of whatever, right? I want you to like really deconstruct that argument for me because I'm interested to hear what you think. I don't think that a lot of people think about this on a daily basis. And also, I think it's so prevalent, right? Like, I mean, I feel this way sometimes. I'm just like, everything I'm doing is being tracked and there's nothing I can do about it. So why think about it at all? I will confess that I sometimes get into that mode. And I'm kind of conflicted on how I feel about the whole thing when I do think about it. But I'd be really interested to get your thoughts on it. So this has been your big data tutorial. I hope it was somewhat helpful, but I also realized that it's a complicated process, and I've tried to like mush a bunch of platforms and explanations into one. So if you have follow-up questions, or if there's something you're like really not understanding, either from me, if I made it worse for you, or the readings, just drop me an email and I'll try to do better. I'm sorry. Until next time, bye.